You have to stay true to yourself, to what you set out to be your strategy. Really, what it comes down to, in my opinion, is focus, your ability to focus. I love a phrase by Steve Jobs. Focus doesn't mean saying yes to a lot of things. It really truly means saying no to 1,000 things. I honestly can tell you can't be successful in product management if you don't speak with customers directly. How often you speak with customers? Oh, yeah, often. Well, when was the last time you spoke with a customer? Last month, or I don't know. Wow, I just don't understand it. I make it a point to speak with customers so I can understand that feedback pain points directly. Where that helps me also is to bring that back to my teams and say, hey, I was speaking with these customers. They're having a really tough time with this specific process or managing the workforce in this specific scenario. And here's how we think we could help them. Here's what success will look like for us.
Hey everyone, before you jump into lessons that Santiago has shared in this episode, I have one brief message. Over 95% of people who listen to us regularly haven't subscribed yet. If you enjoy our podcast and believe in our mission to facilitate genuine conversations with product leaders, we would appreciate your support. Simply hit the subscribe button to help us bring in more amazing guests. Thank you for being a part of this journey. So, hi, Santiago. I'm really thrilled and excited to have you today at our Silent podcast.
Hi, Anna, and thank you. Thanks for having me today.
We have a really quick block of questions just to learn more about you. How would you explain to your mom what you do for a living?
That's a great question. Um, I would say that I like solving customer problems that can generate revenue.
Yeah. What book influenced your product and business vision the most?
Oh, there's so many. I love reading. I'm an avid reader. Um, well, I'll tell you a couple. One, when I was starting out my journey, this was back in college. I read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Changed my mindset as to how I view life, problems, that anything that you set your mind to, it's really attainable if you work hard. So it changed my perspective. On the product world, I really enjoy Marty Kagan's books. One is Inspire. It really teaches you the practices and everything that you must do as a product organization to truly be successful. And his last one that just came out not long ago, the product operating model. So it's called Transform by Marty Kagan. Yeah, transformation is hard, and I love that book.
If you would switch with role with one of your employees in the company, what would you do and why?
It will be sales. I enjoy that part.
Oh, that's interesting. If you could have a dinner party with an influential figure in the world of product management, who would it be?
Actually, I'm a fan of Elon Musk. And I just think that he's such an innovative figure. The things that he's done, I'm just amazed at his ability to manage multiple companies. So his work ethic and it's just amazing what he has accomplished across multiple industries and domains. That is just a tremendous feat. It's not easy to accomplish. I mean, we all struggle in just one job, right? And Elon is just managing multiple companies, multiple industries, and being successful too. So that's just amazing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, I think we can get down to discussing like the meat of this conversation. So your background actually resonates with me a lot. You have started as business analyst, system analyst, progressed to product management, and now you're a director of product management. What has changed or shifted in your mindset when you progressed from BA to PM?
Yeah, so a lot. You often hear the term "I fell into product management," not that I set that as my goals, career objective. Most people end up falling into these roles, and that was the case for me. Dating back to when I was a systems analyst, I started getting my a lot of interest in the technology sector, but I always like to be at the intersection of many different things, and that's how I kind of fell into product.
Right. And currently you're a director of product management. Do you manage different lines of ecosystems or You manage other product managers.
Yeah, so director roles varies depending on the stage of the organization. For Fingercheck, yeah, the director of product, I manage the product team, product managers, product designers, and you indirectly manage the engineering team as well. It's like leading without the authority.
And in terms of responsibility, uh, do you manage entire product and direction strategy, or you also dive into details sometimes?
My role is strategic and tactical as well, so it dwells into a lot of things. Going back to the stage where we're at, so we're in a high growth stage at Fingercheck. We're experiencing tremendous growth. And at this stage, you have to be strategic, setting the vision, the direction for the product team, the things that we're going to work on, what we build, the problems that we're going to solve for our customers. But I also, write the requirements sometimes, and I even have to test sometimes. So whatever we need to do to get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, product managers are multi-tools. So you need to be able to fill in the gaps anywhere, regardless of what's need to be done. As you mentioned, you're responsible for product strategy and roadmap. And I think that's a tough thing to do. There's so much to unpack here. Maybe let's start with why it is so hard.
A very common misconception in product management is the belief that there is only one right way to do things. Like, here's the right way to build products. So it often stems from an understanding of somebody implemented a particular methodology or framework, they achieved good results, and then now we just assume that there is this universal formula for success, like the one size fits all approach, but that's not it at all. So I would say that good strategy starts with a good, compelling vision for the company, and this is really the foundation for an effective product strategy to be in place. Like, where are you going as a company? What is the future that you're trying to create? What is your north star? And that's truly what's going to guide your decision making and being able to articulate where you're heading as an organization in the long term. So once that vision is established, then there's a series of activities that you must do, right? Gather the feedback, whether that is qualitative or quantitative. You got to analyze the data, speak with your customers to understand their pain points directly, right? Understand the market, the competitive landscape, and from there, you're gonna come out with a series of bets.
These are our kind of guesses about or predictions about the future or our assumptions that we need to come up with. And actually, because everyone says we need to be data driven and make educated decisions, but in this agile and versatile world, it's really hard to actually get all the data at once.
Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody tells you that there isn't any gut feeling associated with it, the probably lying. There is. You're always using your gut and your instincts. Of course, from prior experiences, you're using informed decision making, right? Not only data driven, but data informed, right? And in the digital world, we never suffer from lack of information, but it's the overwhelming, the vast amount of information that is available. But what it's going to dictate your success is your ability to analyze and funnel all that information, throw away what is not relevant, what doesn't work, and move forward with that. So it's more of a mindset, learning and adapting, right? So in terms of what we do in Fingercheck is we always try to do experimentation, like testing hypotheses on a small scale, even if it's just with a small focused group of people before you commit resources. That way you are de-risking your strategy, right? And creating feedback loops, right? Continuously gather feedback from users, stakeholders, and truly understand what's working, what's not, and being agile, right? Inspect, adapt your strategy based on your learnings. This is truly the agile approach. And if you need to pivot, then you should be able to do that. That's why I'm not a fan of like religiously following a framework or a methodology because that deviates from the basis at the core of agile.
Hmm. Don't you feel that you're building the plane on the go?
You have to stay true to yourself, to what you set out to be your strategy. So you have to understand where you are as an organization, right? Really, what it comes down to, in my opinion, is focus. Your ability to focus. I love a phrase by Steve Jobs where he says that focus doesn't mean saying yes to a lot of things. It really truly means saying no to 1,000 things. And that he goes on to say that he's more proud of the things that he said no to than the ones that he's actually said yes. So if you have an ideal customer profile, you have a target market, stay loyal to that and remain focused. And that's how you can mitigate the risks.
That's really great insight. Yeah. And in terms of creating this strategy, how do you think what is the horizon for planning is reasonable in current situation? Because with those latest technical advancements, I'm sure that a lot of strategies were messed up, and companies are now not sure in which direction to go because they planned to introduce some new features which are not now relevant to the market. So
This goes back to a really good book that I read too. It's called Playing to Win. Get clear on your strategy as an organization. So that truly defines what is the purpose of your organization. Like what they call in the book is what is your winning aspiration? Where do you want where are you going to play? Like what is the market, the geography? Are you staying national? Are you going global? What is the boundaries of your playing field, right? As soon as you start going through it, and it could be as simple as grabbing a simple Google document and start writing these things down, and you
Mhm.
follow that order, right? And then after you lay down where you're going to play, now you start focusing on okay, how are you going to win? How are you going to achieve your winning aspiration, right? You chosen a playing field, you identify value propositions. Now, how are you going to accomplish those things? And that's where you start coming out with a strategy. And then what are the systems or capabilities that I need to put in place, right? Well, here's the things that we need to do as an organization. We want to, for example, we want to win larger customers. All right. Um, if our target segment is the SMB, what are the things that you need to do to support a larger customer, right? An enterprise, for example. And it really involves setting up structures and different processes, metrics as part of that strategy, but getting clear on the first winning aspiration. That's what truly is going to define the rest of initiative that you need to do.
And do you know any frameworks that can connect this like strategic vision?
What I would say is that it always go back to your culture because driving change is hard, and that's one of my learnings in my experience. Driving change is hard. You can come. That's why I'm not a fan of following religiously a particular framework or methodology because you can just adapt that to any organization. Every company has different set of challenges that you need to adapt, right? Different mentalities, right? What I do in Fingercheck is we focus on outcomes rather than outputs, and then we find meaningful ways of measuring the impact on users and business. And for that, we have a ton of metrics, right? If you want to measure engagement, you have ways of doing that. Daily active users, monthly active users, by getting clear on outcomes, telling a story, right? And keeping the customer at the center of whatever you're doing, framing that in terms of customer needs and the benefits of what you're going to do, and then regularly review and adapt. Don't stay too loyal or religiously follow a specific framework. Like use what works for your specific organization at that moment in time, because what worked for you when you were in a startup stage is not going to work for you when you're in a high growth stage or when you become an enterprise. It's completely different. So know where you are as an organization in terms of this your stage.
Also, interesting question about what percentage of team's effort should be dedicated to working on strategy.
I believe that strategy must be done by the leadership or the organization, and then once that's established and in place, each team in your company should have their own OKRs, right? Their own objectives as a team. You give them problems to solve. So based on that, you place your bets, right? Are you looking for like the quick wins, the low hanging fruit, like the lighters, what I call them? Are you looking to create customer delight, or are you looking to disrupt the market with this innovative initiative or solution, but that you know that's going to take up a lot of your resources and time? Um, so based on your objectives as an organization, you gotta determine what's your resource allocation. But what I always do is I always reserve some type of resource and capacity to support our customer base, and that needs to be in place at the outset of every initiative, right? We always reserve about 20% capacity for bug fixing or more what I call the delighters, like low effort, high value um, customer feature requests that we could accomplish and satisfy our customer base.
What is your opinion about roadmaps? Because
My view on roadmaps, after having made a ton of mistakes, I've done pretty much all the type of roadmaps that you can do. I've done the spreadsheet. I've used the feature driven roadmap. I've done the quarterly roadmap. I've done just so many, and honestly, in my experience, from what I've learned, is that product roadmap should honestly be very simple and high level. Because if you're having a feature based roadmap that is focused on outputs, like here are the many features that we're going to accomplish on Q1, Q2, Q3, that doesn't communicate your strategy. And it really shows lack of strategy, I would dare to say, because a set of features does not reflect that you're working on the outcome. Like, what is it that you're going to solve for your customers? Like, what kind of pain are they having, right? Um, I always emphasize the importance of flexibility and iteration. So, roadmaps don't have to be set in stone. I like the now, next, later type of roadmap, but keeping it high level because that reflects um, our strategic objectives, right? We want to, increase, get into a new market or increase user engagement on a specific product or product line. Those are high level. And then what are the set of tasks or initiative that you need to do in order to accomplish that goal? And that's how we do it. But it also helps with your organizational alignment and stakeholder management because when different stakeholders across the organization see something, all right, well, you have this in Q3, and here are the set of things that you said you were going to do in Q3. That's not realistic because in product, we all understand that you don't know when you're going to, you can have hard deadlines like that until you truly get into the weeds, you understand the product requirements, you understand the technical implementation, the scope, um, not only from a development standpoint, but also the testing scope. You go to market strategy. All these things are going to yield a different deadline from what you had originally perhaps laid out in a roadmap document. So that's not realistic, and it doesn't really communicate the progress and the alignment that you want as a product manager.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like this concept of like three buckets,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes our roadmaps more versatile, and it can be communicated to different stakeholders, and there are no commitments. Like you can communicate to sales or customer support that we will have these features coming up, but we'll see when we'll be delivering them.
Yeah.
That's because roadmaps are tools to communicate and align the team across different stakeholders. Actually, a good thing we haven't discussed is how do you align stakeholders around the vision?
It all comes down to communication and often over communication. That's something that I've learned the hard way, making mistakes. But really, if you want to drive that organizational alignment, you have to communicate and over communicate sometimes. And even at the granular individual initiative project level, you want to tie it back to your overarching objectives as an organization. Even if it's a smaller project that you're working on, always tie it back to your vision, your mission, and your organizational objectives because truly everything that you're doing must follow. your objectives, right? And that's how you create that alignment. And I often use storytelling. I love sharing customer stories and pain points. I make it a point to speak with a few customers on a weekly basis.
Oh,
I
that's
honestly
great.
can tell you can't be successful in product management if you don't speak with customers directly. And I can tell you how many times I've spoken with product folks at other organizations, and you ask them how often you speak with customers. Oh, yeah, often. Well, how? When was the last time you spoke with a customer? Oh, last month, or I don't know. It's like, wow, I just don't understand it. I make it a point to speak with customers so I can understand that feedback pain points directly. But where that helps me also is to bring that back to my teams and say, hey, I was speaking with these customers. They're having a really tough time with this specific process or managing the workforce in this specific scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and here's how we think we could help them, and here's here's what success will look like for us. So you always try to tell a story, tie it back to the customer, highlight the pain point, then you highlight the benefits of the initiative that you're about to undertake, and then everything trickles down. It really creates that alignment. It creates that rapport with your
Mm-hmm.
teams and your motivation. If you don't share the vision of what you're doing, if you don't share the why you're doing things, then it just becomes what we know as creating a team of mercenaries. It's a harsh term, but it's just focusing on task completion. But really, you want to highlight that the work that we do is meaningful and that is changing the lives of customers, which is what we're all about here at Fingercheck.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that we need to circle back all the time and share as much of information about customers we get and have this constant loop and contact with actual customers. I would like also to discuss a question about role of the design in the product strategy, because as in a current setup, design is getting more and more important because people are getting used to working with like some patterns, and product strategy actually is multi-layered. There could be aspects of design strategy or tech strategy. How do you align these strategies in one product strategy?
Absolutely. So I believe in empowering teams by giving them autonomy to solve problems. With this, you can foster a culture of innovation and agility. And then once you do that, you also have the accountability that goes with that, right? For example, at Fingercheck, our product design team owns usability. They own the user experience piece. They own the research. They own the piece of the initiative to make sure that whatever solution we're implementing at that point, it's truly user friendly, that it has a great user experience, that is simple, intuitive, but they own that piece. From a product standpoint, I would own to make sure that what we're working on is valuable, right? That it makes sense for us as an organization to invest on that in particular initiative, right? And then the engineering team will own whether that's something that, the technical implementation, if it's something that is feasible for the organization, whether that we have the technology and the infrastructure to support that user experience. So having clear alignment, responsibility, and accountability on each specific product initiative, it honestly fosters a collaboration environment, and that's how we manage it.
Mm-hmm. Actually, thumbs up to your design team. I've checked G2 reviews, and like people comment on ease of use as one of top pros of your system. So, do you actually measure usability at Fingercheck? Like, do you track design metrics or UX metrics? Because you mentioned that you keep track of product metrics, but do you specifically measure usability?
And again, we're at a growth stage, so we don't have a ton of resources because we're making investments in other areas. But yeah, we definitely track NPS scores, because that not only tells you the satisfaction from a customer service standpoint, but it also can give you hints about the user experience from a product standpoint. right? We also track monthly active users, daily active users for user engagement, and we also track feature adoption. And what I want to understand, and I partner with my design team, is we want to understand like where our customers are getting value from our product. What are those features, modules that they find most useful, right? Where
Mhm.
they're getting their value from. So we do have some product analytics in place, and that's honestly that's how I start my day. So I start planning out my day on Sunday nights. Monday morning, the first thing that I do is open our dashboard for analytics, and I start looking for trends. I start looking for insights, um, but always with a goal in mind, right? If I understand we rolled out a specific feature and focus on product optimization for a specific feature set, so I want to understand what's the usage, what is the customer feedback, and we also create those channels for feedback surveys. We also have a channel for direct customer feedback on a per module basis that gives us great insights as to how how we're handling the features in terms of value and
Mhm.
usability.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, I have some noises on my background. Um, Also, I know that there are two types of product managers. Some are very like have meticulous attention to details when giving feedback to designers, especially, and others can entrust design decisions totally to design team. Which to which camp you belong to? So do you provide like direction into design decisions as well, or designers make those decisions on their end?
If we're working on a particular initiative, I own whether that's valuable. So I need to explain to my team the why we're doing what we are investing on a particular solution, right? And then from my user experience standpoint, yeah, I bring mock-ups. I love working sessions. I tell them what I think would be good, and the feedback that I've gotten from my design team is that they appreciate that because not only I bring the why, I bring the customer story, I bring the benefits of what success will look like if we were to implement a particular solution. And then I give them my idea. And it could be just like a paper napkin sketch. And they just turn that into an amazing design, but I just let them run with that. But giving them something to work off of often has proven successful for us and in my experience, and I've gotten positive feedback as opposed to not bringing anything to the table. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to drive the design process. So I wouldn't get into that. They are the experts in their fields, and that's why we have a product design team, right? But it's a collaborative approach, and I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, that's actually great because picture worth 1,000 words, and it's better to show it like I think that it'll be something like that, and they can pick up and yeah, yeah having this input sometimes is really good. Um, all right, and one last kind of block of questions will be about adapting to change. Because I've checked those recent updates from Microsoft, Google, and OpenAI about all those amazing things that they plan. And actually, everyone predicts that in few years, maybe even like faster, AI will soon create code by itself. SaaS positioning could be actually undermined because of that, because you can create a custom solution for you at like low cost. How do you sleep at night, especially with those updates coming very fast?
I've always maintained a continuous learning mindset. I think I consider myself a lifelong learner, so I love learning new things every day, and I'm humble enough to say that I don't know enough, right? But and from the AI perspective, I don't think AI is a threat, especially in the product community. I think that's going to enhance our productivity. For example, with the emergence of no code tools for product, I just I go back to my time as a business analyst and assistant analyst. I was required to know SQL and to understand how to create user queries to generate particular reports and all that. So I had to learn that, and honestly, it's not that easy to learn SQL language, right? And but now with AI, you can actually turn natural language into a SQL query really easily. So you're
Mhm.
not relying on engineering anymore to run a query, for example. So that's enabling product managers and product folks to gather those insights, get those analytics that they need without the unnecessary feedback loops and delays by relying on their engineering team. Also, there's the emergence of rapid prototyping. I was using the other day UX tool that you can generate mockups and low fidelity wireframes with natural language. Like
Wow.
generate a fintech app um, for payment processing, for example, and it gives you a really good wireframe so that you can start working off of that. So for rapid testing and rapid prototyping, I see that as an enhancement to our productivity. And for developers, I mean, they can troubleshoot and debug code and enhance their code by leveraging AI as well. So I think I see that as an enhancement to our productivity, not as much as a threat.
Mm-hmm. And how do you keep yourself up to date? Because you mentioned like you learning about some tools. Do you check the net every day?
Absolutely. So there's just so much information out there, and that is free and readily available. For example, this podcast, it's a great example. So I'm often subscribed to newsletters, um, forums. I tend to attend networking events. Uh, I love reading, so I'm always on the hunt for that next good book. Um, and yeah, podcasts. LinkedIn is a great resource to network with like-minded individuals. There are special communities that, based on your interests, right? If you're interested in AI, there's just so many forums, channels, newsletters out there. And I am one that I like a lot is TLDR. So yeah, that gives you like a really basic breakdown of what's going on in the world of product, web, design, tech, investments, startups, whatever it is that you want to learn about. The information's there. You just have to be um, intentional about what you're doing.
And maybe in wrapping up this conversation, I think that product manager is a very stressful role because you have a really high level of responsibility. How do you keep yourself motivated?
I've had conversations with my team and friends in the product world, and I tell them product management, especially for those people who want to break into product management, I tell them this is not a 9 to 5 40-hour week job. It's not. Let's be honest and be realistic. The amount of work that you do from a product standpoint, it's a lot. You have to know a little bit about multiple disciplines, and that takes time, right? So depending where you are in your career journey, you decide where you want to focus on your strengths, mastering your strengths, or you want to focus on those weaknesses. So putting that out there, and second, staying motivated is just make sure that you're working on a product in a company that motivates you. That you have to be passionate about the things that you're doing. So I'm passionate about improving the lives of small businesses. Why? Because they are the backbone of the economy. I think I come from a background of small businesses. My family has small businesses. So I'm just genuinely passionate about small businesses. So find something that you're passionate about. That way, you're not, your days aren't dragging. You see new challenges as new opportunities and you get excited about those opportunities. And then know when you need to take a break because product burnout is real, and I've seen that, especially in more senior roles. Once you get to a certain level, um, product burnout it's a real thing. So know when you need to take a break, and go out and do the things that you enjoy doing. For example, me, I love being outdoors. I love going into nature, boating, sports, with spending time with my family. My kids are 10 and 12-year olds, and I love doing outdoor activities with them, sporting events. I just love that. And you got to make sure that you take the time to recharge doing the things that you love doing, get your mind off of things. And often in product, it's funny enough because your best ideas will come not when you're at the job. Your best ideas will come when you're out there doing something else different. It will not come when you're sitting at your desk. It'll come when you're walking down the park or you're somewhere else at a particular event, social event. That's when you're like, oh, wait a minute, something just sparked.
Yeah, that's true. I really love it. Resonates with me so much. Like I had so many nice ideas when I took shower, just like relaxed mode. Like, oh my God, that's a nice idea.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, shower ideas are the best, and they're a real thing. They're a real thing.
All right, Santiago. It was amazing conversation. I really like it so much. You've shared so many interesting and insightful things, and I'm really thrilled to have you today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.